for a few minutes.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Everton, alleyne. I was a dialysis patient now for 16 years. I was diagnosed in February 2005. Prior to that, I would have been in renal outpatient clinic for 2 years with stage 3 and 4 kidney disease, which later progressed to end stage renal disease in 2005. And currently now I've been doing dialysis 3 times a week for the past 16 years. The first topic I've been asked to cover is being diagnosed with end stage renal disease. There's two types of diagnosis when it comes to renal patients. When I say diagnosis, I don't mean in the medical sense, but there are two types of dialysis patients that you have. You have the patient who goes through the 5 stages of renal failure and progress dialysis and would probably be in outpatient clinic for a few years, sometimes a shorter period of time for some patients. And then there's the patient who has renal failure beginning from stage 1 and progressing and does not know that they have renal failure, saying that renal failure is very silent in the first 3 stages. So some patients come on to the dialysis program through accident and emergency. So you have two types of patients: the one that comes through the clinic and starts dialysis, and the one who does not know he has kidney disease, comes through the accident emergency department and is admitted to dialysis as a emergency measure. Those two types of patients, I am the one that came through um, renal clinic. I spent 2 years in renal clinic, and then I started dialysis. Getting the diagnosis, it was difficult at first because you have your normal you have your normal life where you're living a healthy life, everything is going great in your life, and then you have to start dialysis. Managing dialysis and a normal life. Yes, managing dialysis and a normal life. It is not easy because the experience for me is, especially for the breadwinners or dialysis patients that are self-employed, it is very difficult for them because when you start the program, your body goes through so many different changes, and it roughly takes about 3 years to actually settle in to a dialysis program because you go through a series of restrictions when you first start. The first restriction that you have to deal with is fluid restriction, then your diet restrictions. There's restrictions in your physical capacity to carry out stuff, lower energy levels and stuff. So the first 3 years of dialysis would be very difficult. Then there's the mental aspect of being a dialysis patient because dialysis is done in an open environment where it's not a isolated treatment. It's a treatment in an open environment, and you as the patient is exposed to a lot of, how to say, mental challenges because you actually watch patients deteriorate on dialysis. You sometimes see emergency cardiac events on dialysis, and all of this then takes a mental toll on you as a dialysis patient. And those things are very difficult. Limitations on dialysis. Limitations on dialysis. Is limitations in terms of energy levels, diet, family life. Like I say, some patients are self-employed, and being self-employed and dialyzing 2 or 3 times a week can have outcomes, negative outcomes on terms of income and family life. And these are some of the limitations on dialysis. Any questions so far? Okay.
Everton, a quick question. If you had to make a guess, what percentage of persons on dialysis actually work? Half or less?
I would say half.
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 Okay.
But
I thought it was less.
Yeah, but in terms of work, persons working in the private sector face more challenges as dialysis patients than persons in the private sector, because in the private as a dialysis patient in the private sector, if you get sick, you cannot come to work. You're dialyzing 3 times a week. You have lower energy levels. Barbados is a hot climate. You can't rehydrate like how the average man will rehydrate. Sometimes you could only rehydrate up to 1 liter a day to hydrate yourself. You basically can't go past one liter. So working in the private sector would be difficult, because when you get sick and you can't work, the private sector mostly looks at production. So as long as you cannot produce, there's not the kind of leverage for you, the patient, will have versus a patient in the private sector who can get extended sick leave up to a year. In the private sector, the dialysis patient cannot get sick leave up to a year. So loss of jobs is mostly common for patients in the private sector versus the public sector.
Question: why do dialysis patients tend to drink more than a normal person? For instance, a normal person would drink 1 Sprite in a day, but with dialysis patient, we tend to want to drink.
Well, the reason for that is because during the process of dialysis, you're given sodium sometimes through the machine to maintain blood pressures, and sometimes depending on the product, the acid and the bicarb that cleans the blood. Some, I find from traveling, different dialysates sometimes can cause you to be thirsty internally. So it is not really a thirst like what a normal person would have if they had to, let me say, go for a short run and come back and rehydrate. Our thirst is be internal, because the solution that cleans the blood, that filters the blood, that washes the toxins from the blood, can cause you to be thirsty. So you will find that don't mind how much you hydrate, you are never satisfied, because that thirst is the internal thirst. But over the period of time, that's why I say it takes 3 years for a patient to get accustomed to that and program your body to manage that. But so the first 3 years, you will find that you will be thirsty all the time. You'll be putting on a lot of weight gain, having a lot of problems at dialysis, removing large loads of weight gain, and that is take about 3 years to settle down for the body to like basically don't feel thirsty like that anymore. It's take a while.
Very, very good.
Everton.
Yes, please.
This is Margaret. What I want to hear, you said that you had a little while in the clinic before you advanced to the end stage. I want you to share with others what you did to prevent the further advancement, the rapid advancement. If there's anything that you would have done that can benefit other people.
Yes, when I was in clinic, the first thing that I started to do to stop the progression, the rate that I was deteriorating at, I first limited myself to 1,500 mils of any fluid, basically 1.5 liters of fluid. I reduced from 3 meals a day to 2 meals a day, because the kidney is not working at 100%. So usually for renal patients, people they structure breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I find that 3 meals sometimes they be too much for a dialysis patient, and it causes you to build up more urea and toxins in the blood. So I limited myself to 1.5 liters. Then I limited myself also to 2 meals a day, and portion size was very important because some people may say, well, I will limit myself to 2 meals a day, but the portion sizes are very large. I stuck to the renal diet, 2 meals a day, started to do like cardio and basically took the medication how it's supposed to take it, and that gave me a fighting chance. So basically when I started dialysis, I just simply changed the diet plans and what's not, exercise and stuff.
All right. So at this time, what we can do, because we just move on, but any other questions that you have, what we can do is give you an email address that you can send them to, and we would identify the person that you want to answer that question. So any more questions for Everton, we would send that email address and Everton would answer those questions. Okay. So thank you very much, Everton. Yeah, we want to so Tanisha, introduce your
Mr. Haynes, you want to give us the email address now?
yes. Okay. Everton, you can give your email address there.
Yes, my email address is charl740@yahoo.com.
Okay. And my email address is very simple. Alan, ALLAN.Haynes@kidneycaribbean.com. So, right. Okay.
All right, those have been noted. Okay, next person is Ian Hurdle. He is a dialysis nurse. So we're gonna be chatting with him or hearing from him for the next 15 minutes as well. So is Mr. Nurse here? Mr. Hurdle here?
Hurdle is here.
Yes, I see him. Okay, Mr. Hurdle, you can go ahead.
Alan,
Yes,
I want to share screen. I want you.
You can share your screen.